The Grand Canyon is one of the most visited natural wonders on the planet, and yet, almost everyone who goes there for the first time makes the same handful of mistakes. Mistakes that waste time, ruin photos, and sometimes put people in genuine danger. So before you load up the car and head to Arizona, let's talk about what nobody tells you before visiting the Grand Canyon. Let's start with the single biggest misconception. Most people think the Grand Canyon is in the desert, so it must be hot. And sure, down at the bottom of the canyon, along the Colorado River, temperatures can absolutely soar past 110 degrees Fahrenheit in summer. But here's the thing, you're probably not going to the bottom. You're going to the rim. The South Rim sits at about 7,000 feet above sea level. That's higher than Denver. And at that elevation, temperatures can drop dramatically. Even in June, mornings on the rim can hover in the low 40s. In winter, the rim regularly gets snow. Actual, legitimate snow. People show up in flip-flops and tank tops, and within an hour, they're shivering and miserable. So rule number 1, bring layers. Always bring layers. A light jacket and a long sleeve shirt can save your entire trip. Now let's talk about timing, because when you arrive matters more than almost anything else. The Grand Canyon sees about 6 million visitors a year, and the vast majority of them come between May and September. Peak season hits hardest in June and July. If you show up on a Saturday in mid-June around 10 in the morning, congratulations. You and about 10,000 other people had the same idea. Parking lots fill up completely. Shuttle buses are packed shoulder to shoulder, and every major viewpoint has a crowd 3 rows deep, all holding phones in the air. So when should you actually go? The sweet spots are April and October. The weather is mild, the crowds thin out significantly, and the light is absolutely gorgeous. If you can only visit during peak summer, then adjust your schedule. Arrive at the park before 8 in the morning or after 4 in the afternoon. Sunset at the Grand Canyon is one of the most spectacular things you will ever see, and far fewer people stick around for it because they've already driven away. Golden hour light hitting those layered red and orange rock walls is the kind of thing that stays with you for the rest of your life. Alright, let's talk about the South Rim versus the North Rim, because most people don't even realize there are 2 main areas. About 90% of visitors go to the South Rim. It's easier to access, it's open year-round, and it has more infrastructure like lodges, restaurants, and shuttle systems. The North Rim, on the other hand, is only open from mid-May to mid-October. It's more remote, about a 4 to 5 hour drive from the South Rim, even though it's only 10 miles across the canyon as the crow flies. But here's the secret. The North Rim is higher in elevation, cooler, greener, and dramatically less crowded. If you want to actually feel like you're experiencing wilderness and solitude, the North Rim is where it's at. You can stand at Bright Angel Point and hear nothing but the wind. No shuttle buses, no tour group loudspeakers, just you and a canyon that's 277 miles long. Now let's get into viewpoints, because not all overlooks are created equal. When you arrive at the South Rim, the park is going to funnel you toward Mather Point. It's the closest major viewpoint to the main visitor center, and it is genuinely impressive. But it's also the most congested spot in the entire park. People cluster there, take a few photos, and then leave thinking they've seen the Grand Canyon. They haven't. They've seen one angle of it. Instead, here's what you should do. Take the Hermit Road shuttle west along the rim. It stops at 9 overlooks, and each one offers a completely different perspective. Hopi Point is phenomenal for sunset because you get a wide panoramic view with the canyon stretching in both directions. Mojave Point gives you a view down to the Colorado River, which you can't see from many spots on the rim. And Powell Point is often nearly empty, which means you can actually take your time and sit with the view. On the east side, take Desert View Drive. Lipan Point is arguably the most underrated overlook on the entire South Rim. You get sweeping views of the canyon and the river, making a dramatic bend far below. And at the very end of that drive, you'll find the Desert View Watchtower, a 70-foot stone structure built in 1932 that gives you elevated views and beautiful interior murals. Most visitors never make it out there, which is exactly why you should. This is a good time to mention something. If you're enjoying this kind of insider information, the stuff that actually helps you have a better experience out there, do me a favor and hit that like button and subscribe to National Park Secrets. We make videos like this for parks all across the country, and subscribing means you won't miss the next one. Okay, back to the canyon. Let's talk about hiking, because this is where the Grand Canyon gets genuinely dangerous. Every year, hundreds of people have to be rescued from inside the canyon. Some die, and the reason is almost always the same. People underestimate the hike back up. Here's how the Grand Canyon works. Unlike most mountains, you start at the top. So the beginning of your hike is the easy part. You're walking downhill. Gravity is your friend. The air is cool. You feel great. You keep going and going. And then you turn around. Now you're hiking uphill, in thinner air, with the sun beating down into the canyon, and you've already used half your energy in water. The Park Service has a rule of thumb. For every hour you hike down, plan on 2 hours to hike back up. If you hike to the river and back in a single day on Bright Angel Trail, that's a 19-mile round trip with over 4,300 feet of elevation change. That is a brutal day hike, even for experienced hikers. If you're a first-timer, go to the first rest house on Bright Angel Trail, which is about 1.5 miles down, or hike to Ooh Ah Point on South Kaibab Trail, which is less than a mile, but gives you one of the most photogenic spots in the entire park. Either way, bring way more water than you think you need, a minimum of 1 liter per person per hour of hiking in summer, and bring salty snacks. Hyponatremia, which is essentially drinking too much water without replacing sodium, is a real medical issue on Grand Canyon trails. Let's talk about something else nobody warns you about. The parking situation. On busy days, the lots near the visitor center and Mather Point fill up before 10 in the morning. Once they're full, you're circling around wasting time and burning fuel. The smarter move is to park at the Grand Canyon Visitor Center parking lot as early as possible, or skip the car entirely and park in the town of Tusayan just outside the park. There's a free shuttle that runs from there into the park during peak season. You avoid the stress, skip the parking hunt, and start your day with a lot less frustration. Another tip. If you're staying overnight, book your lodging as far in advance as humanly possible. Rooms inside the park, places like El Tavar and Bright Angel Lodge, can sell out 6 months to a year ahead. Phantom Ranch, the lodge at the bottom of the canyon, fills up by lottery 15 months in advance. If you miss those windows, Tusayan has hotels, and Flagstaff, about 80 miles south, is a great base with more affordable options and good restaurants. Let's talk about what to do when the sun goes down. The Grand Canyon is a certified international dark sky park, and the stargazing is absolutely phenomenal. On a clear night with no moon, you can see the Milky Way arcing across the sky in vivid detail. The park even hosts star parties with telescopes set up by volunteers. If you're there on the right night, you can look at Saturn's rings or Jupiter's moons while standing on the edge of a canyon that's nearly 2 billion years old. It's an experience that honestly makes you feel very, very small in the best possible way. A few more rapid-fire tips that will make your trip significantly smoother. First, fill up your gas tank before you enter the park. There's one gas station inside, and it's not always convenient. Second, bring binoculars. The canyon is vast, and binoculars let you pick out details like rock layers, condors soaring on thermals, and rafters on the river far below. Third, condors. You might actually see California condors here. They're one of the rarest birds on Earth, with a wingspan of nearly 10 feet. They have numbered tags on their wings, and if you spot one, it's a genuinely special moment. Fourth, don't rely on your cell phone for everything. Cell service is spotty at best inside the park. Download offline maps before you arrive, and grab a paper map from the visitor center. And finally, the most important thing nobody tells you. Give yourself more time than you think. The average visitor spends only 3 to 4 hours at the Grand Canyon. 3 to 4 hours for a place that took billions of years to form. That is not enough. The canyon changes by the hour. The way the light moves across those rock walls, the shifting shadows, the colors transforming from orange to deep purple as the sun sets. You can't experience that in an afternoon. If at all possible, stay at least 1 full day. 2 is better. Wake up early, watch the sunrise, hike a trail, sit quietly at an overlook, and stay for sunset. Let the place actually sink in. The Grand Canyon is not just a photo opportunity. It's one of the most profound landscapes on this planet, and it deserves more than a quick stop on a road trip checklist. If this video helped you plan a smarter trip, hit that like button and subscribe to National Park Secrets. We've got guides for Zion, Yellowstone, Yosemite, and dozens more parks, all packed with the kind of tips that guidebooks leave out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you at the next park.